There are moments when communication ends not with explanation, but with interruption. A voice begins a sentence. It never finishes. What remains is not the event itself, but the record that captured its final seconds. This entry begins with a radio transmission made over open water in southern Australia. A young pilot reported an aircraft above him. Air traffic control could see nothing. Minutes later, the transmission ended. Neither the pilot nor his aircraft were ever recovered. Frederick Valentich was 20 years old. Those who knew him described someone serious about aviation, disciplined, focused, and deeply interested in flying. Training flights filled much of his routine. Navigation exercises, aircraft familiarization, repeated procedures designed to build reliability in the cockpit. Flying was not unusual in his life. It was the direction his life was moving. Nothing in the structure of his routine suggested that one evening flight would become part of aviation history. On October 21st, 1978, Valentich prepared for a night flight across Bass Strait, the stretch of water separating mainland Australia from Tasmania. The aircraft was a Cessna 182, a small single-engine plane widely used for private flying and training. The route was uncomplicated. Departure from Moorabbin Airport, a southbound course toward King Island. Estimated travel time just over 1 hour. Weather reports indicated stable conditions. Visibility was acceptable. No unusual aviation warnings had been issued for the region. From every procedural standpoint, the flight appeared ordinary. At 6:19 p.m., Valentich departed Moorabbin Airport. The aircraft climbed steadily and turned toward open water. Below him stretched Bass Strait, darkening gradually as evening settled across the coastline. Pilots flying over open water often experience long periods of visual stillness, few reference points, distant lights, the steady hum of the engine. Routine depends on instruments, altitude awareness, and disciplined attention. For roughly 40 minutes, Valentich continued without difficulty. Then, at 7:06 p.m., he contacted Melbourne Air Traffic Control. His voice was calm, measured. Melbourne, this is Delta Sierra Juliet. Is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet? The controller checked radar. No known traffic. Valentich responded that he could see an aircraft above him. It appeared to be moving quickly. The controller confirmed again. There were no aircraft detected in the area. Valentich continued describing what he observed. 4 bright lights. A shape that appeared elongated. The object passed above him once, then returned again. The controller asked him to confirm his altitude. 4,500 feet. Everything in his tone suggested observation rather than alarm. But the moments he described did not resemble ordinary air traffic. The objects appeared to circle his aircraft, not simply cross his path. Circle. At one point, Valentich remarked quietly, "It seems to be playing some sort of game." The words carried uncertainty rather than fear. The language of someone attempting to understand behavior that did not match expectation. Air traffic control repeated the radar showed no aircraft nearby. Valentich attempted to describe the object more clearly. He reported a metallic surface reflecting light, a green glow, movement that alternated between hovering and sudden acceleration. The object approached again, then moved above his aircraft, then returned. The pattern continued. The controller asked whether Valentich could identify the aircraft type. There was a brief pause. Then he responded, "It's not an aircraft." The sentence derived without emphasis. Simply a conclusion, reached after observation. Moments later, he reported that the object was hovering above him again. Then another change. His engine began running, roughly. The controller asked him to confirm the problem. Valentich responded that the engine was coughing intermittently. Above him, the object continued circling. The final transmission followed shortly afterward. Valentich spoke quietly. "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering on top of me again." A brief pause. Then, "It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft." Immediately afterward, the radio channel recorded a sound, a metallic scraping noise, irregular, 17 seconds long. Then the transmission ended. The controller called repeatedly. No response came. Search aircraft were dispatched across Bass Strait. Ships were directed toward Valentich's last known coordinates. The search covered thousands of square kilometers of ocean. No confirmed wreckage was found. No floating debris. No oil slick. No sign of the aircraft. Aviation accidents typically leaves traces. Fragments, fuel, debris carried by currents. These fragments allow investigators to reconstruct what occurred. In this case, such evidence never appeared. The ocean revealed nothing. Months later, a small fragment of aircraft material washed ashore on Flinders Island. Investigators examined it carefully. The fragment appeared consistent with a Cessna aircraft, but it could not be definitely linked to Valentich's plane. The investigation remained inconclusive. Several explanations have been proposed. Some investigators suggested spatial disorientation, a condition where pilots misinterpret lights or horizon lines over water at night. Others suggested Valentich may have mistaken a distant aircraft or astronomical object. Another possibility was mechanical failure, followed by loss of control over open sea. Each explanation restores the event to familiar aviation risk, but none accounts fully for the radio exchange that preceded the disappearance. A pilot describing an object circling repeatedly above him. Air traffic control confirming empty airspace. A final sound, then silence. Frederick Valentich never reached King Island. No verified trace of his aircraft has been recovered. His disappearance remains listed as unresolved. The transcripts of the radio exchange still exists, line by line, minute by minute, a record of observation without explanation. A pilot reporting something above his aircraft. A controller seeing nothing. A transmission ending mid-flight. And an aircraft that never arrived. Within the eternal ledger, such moments are preserved, not to resolve them, but to ensure they remain visible within the human record. Because when a voice disappears into open sky and the record remains intact, the silence that follows becomes part of the archive. And within this archive, what is recorded remains. The record remembered.